Was Cleopatra really an Egyptian, or is that just another historical misconception? Did Spartans actually throw weak babies off cliffs, or is it an exaggerated myth? And what if I told you Vikings never wore horned helmets? Welcome to World Decoded, and today, we're taking a closer look at 10 ancient myths you probably believed were true. From the truth about Cleopatra's origins to the mystery of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and even the surprising reality behind Roman vomitoriums, we're here to set the record straight. So do stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just question everything you thought you knew about ancient history. And if you enjoy learning about history's hidden truths and uncovering fascinating facts, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode of World Decoded. With that being said, let's get started. Myth number 1. Cleopatra was Egyptian. Cleopatra VII is often thought of as quintessentially Egyptian, but she was in fact of Macedonian Greek descent. A descendant of Ptolemy I, a general of Alexander the Great, Cleopatra was part of the Ptolemaic dynasty, which ruled Egypt after Alexander's conquest. Despite her Greek heritage, Cleopatra embraced Egyptian culture and was the first in her dynasty to learn the Egyptian language. Her ability to blend Greek and Egyptian traditions helped her solidify her rule and maintain the loyalty of her subjects, making her one of history's most enigmatic and effective leaders. Myth number 2. Spartans threw weak babies off cliffs. The idea that Spartans systematically threw weak or deformed babies off Mount Taygetus is a common misconception. This myth likely originates from ancient accounts by writers such as Plutarch, but there is little archaeological or historical evidence to support it. While Spartan society was indeed militaristic and placed a strong emphasis on physical fitness, the reality was more nuanced. Infants deemed unfit might have been abandoned, but this was not unique to Sparta and occurred in many ancient cultures due to economic or social pressures. In most cases, abandoned infants could be rescued and adopted by others. This oversimplification of Spartan practices perpetuates the stereotype of their society as excessively brutal. Myth number 3. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon definitely existed. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, yet their existence remains unproven. Ancient writers like Strabo and Philo describe lush terrace gardens built by King Nebuchadnezzar II for his wife, but no definitive archaeological evidence has been found in Babylon. Some historians speculate that the gardens might have been located in Nineveh, a part of the Assyrian Empire, and mistakenly attributed to Babylon. Others suggest the gardens were purely mythical, symbolizing human ingenuity and the connection between nature and civilization. While the garden's true nature remains a mystery, their enduring legend highlights the creativity of ancient storytelling. Myth number 4. Gladiators always fought to the death. Popular culture often depicts gladiatorial games as brutal fights to the death, but this was not always the case. Gladiators were expensive to train and maintain, making their deaths a costly affair for their owners. Many fights ended when one combatant was wounded or unable to continue, and the decision to spare a gladiator's life often rested with the crowd or the sponsor of the games. Gladiatorial combat was a complex spectacle with its own set of rules, more akin to modern sports entertainment than the all-out bloodbaths portrayed in movies. Myth number 5. The Great Pyramid was built by slaves. One of the most persistent myths about ancient Egypt is that the Great Pyramid of Giza was built by slaves. This idea, popularized by ancient historians like Herodotus and later perpetuated by films, is far from accurate. Modern archaeological evidence reveals that the pyramid builders were skilled laborers who lived in nearby workers' villages. These workers were well-fed and received medical care, a far cry from the harsh conditions associated with slavery. They were likely conscripted farmers working during the Nile's flood season, a time when agricultural work was impossible. The scale of the operation, involving tens of thousands of workers, showcases an organized and well-supported workforce, not a massive slave labor force. Myth number 6. Vikings wore horned helmets. The image of Vikings wearing horned helmets is iconic, but entirely fictional. This myth originated in the 19th century, thanks to operatic costumes designed by Carl Emil Doppler for Wagner's Ring Cycle. Archaeological evidence shows that Viking helmets were practical, often conical, and made of leather or iron to provide protection in battle. Horn helmets would have been impractical, potentially hindering their movements during combat. The myth persists because of its dramatic and romantic appeal, but the reality of Viking warfare was far less theatrical and much more grounded in practicality. Myth number 7. Nero fiddled while Rome burned. The story of Emperor Nero playing the fiddle while Rome burned in 64 CE is a dramatic tale that paints him as a heartless tyrant. However, it is historically inaccurate. The violin did not exist at the time, and accounts of Nero's actions during the fire are conflicting. Ancient sources suggest that Nero was not even in Rome when the fire started. Instead, he returned to the city to organize relief efforts, including opening his own gardens to shelter the homeless. The myth likely stems from later propaganda by his political enemies, who sought to tarnish his reputation. Myth number 8. The Trojan horse was a literal horse. The story of the Trojan horse, as recounted in Homer's Iliad and later works, is one of the most famous tales of trickery in history. However, there is no archaeological evidence to support the existence of a wooden horse. Some historians speculate that the horse may have been a metaphor for a siege engine or a concealed group of soldiers who infiltrated Troy. Others suggest that the horse symbolized Poseidon, the god of earthquakes, who was often associated with horses. The lack of definitive evidence leaves this myth open to interpretation, but it's clear that the story is more symbolic than factual. Myth number 9. Ancient Romans gorged themselves at vomitoriums. The term vomitorium often conjures images of Romans indulging in feasts and then purging themselves to eat more. In reality, a vomitorium was an architectural feature in Roman amphitheaters and stadiums, designed to allow large crowds to exit efficiently. The idea of a vomitorium as a place for gluttonous purging is a modern misconception, likely stemming from a misinterpretation of the term. While Roman banquets were extravagant, there is no evidence to suggest that organized purging was a common practice. Myth number 10. The Library of Alexandria was completely destroyed. The destruction of the Library of Alexandria is often portrayed as a single catastrophic event, erasing centuries of knowledge overnight. In truth, the library's decline was gradual and likely occurred over several centuries. It suffered damage during Julius Caesar's siege of Alexandria in 48 BCE, but it is unclear how much was destroyed. Subsequent events, including the rise of Christianity and changes in scholarly practices, contributed to the library's demise. While its loss is tragic, the idea of a single, apocalyptic destruction oversimplifies the complex history of this legendary institution. And there you have it, 10 ancient myths finally debunked. From Cleopatra's true heritage to the misunderstood practices of Spartans and the mysterious fate of the Library of Alexandria. History is often more nuanced than we imagine. Which of these myths surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to World Decoded, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop for more fascinating historical insights. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring, questioning, and decoding the world around you. See you in the next video.